Turning to the I-Team now, some Independence leaders have a plan to curb overtime pay after five police officers logged overtime pay for doing construction work.
The KSHP 41 I-Team learned that multiple members of the police department have received that overtime pay for non-police work. In the instance of one officer, they made at least $160,000 in overtime for construction work at the Independence Detention Unit. Time slips show the overtime hours were approved. KSHP 41 I-Team reporter Cameron Taylor is live in Independence for us.
Yeah, Cameron, the way overtime is calculated by the city could soon be changing, right?
It could, Caitlin, Dia, and the way it works right now is that it's based on total hours worked, including paid time off. So, for example here, let's say you take 5 days off to start a week, then you work another day in that same week, you would be paid overtime for this day. The city manager's office wants to change it so that you'd have to work 40 hours before OT kicks in, and it's a move that could potentially save the city hundreds of thousands of dollars. Independent city council members will soon decide if the city's overtime policy needs to change. The idea comes after the KSHP 41 I-Team revealed an officer made at least $160,000 in overtime for non-police work. Records show the officer logged 2,800 hours of overtime for painting and other construction projects at the police department in jail last year. The city is now looking at a new overtime policy based on hours worked. Jason Grant with the International City County Management Association weighed in about the different models of overtime.
It's not that one's better than another. The function is to how do we deliver the programs and services that the taxpayers are paying for? How do we deliver on that?
To give you a sense of the impact with the new policy, the city provided some examples. One shows a master police officer earning more than $48,000 from working 823 and a half hours of overtime in a year. That's under the current policy. The new policy would trim that number down to nearly 500 overtime hours and more than $29,000 in overtime pay, a difference of $19,000 for just one employee.
When you see overtime policy shift, when cities start to look at, is our overtime policy doing what we need it to do?
Independents studied overtime practices from 10 nearby Missouri cities, including Kansas City, Lee's Summit, and Blue Springs. Lee's Summit was the only city that calculates overtime the same as Independence does, total hours including paid time off. Now, we contacted all city council members and the mayor to get their take on this proposed overtime policy. We have not heard back tonight. Now, city council members will be taking this up on Tuesday, and even if the council approves this, the union would still need to agree to it. For the KSHP 41 I-Team, I'm Cameron Taylor.